So I decided to try out Mathel's new Ice Spear build for the Shifting Stones event, and here are 4 things that I wish I knew, or tips that I could give you if you are thinking of league starting Ice Spear on a Deadeye. Number 1 is that Rangers don't have access to Ice Spear till Act 3. Unless you are ready to create a mule character to get it at level 12, you have to probably level with a bow skill, which was what I did, and it wasn't exactly the best because you eventually have to respec into Ice Spear. Bows and casters have completely different skill trees, and if you're league starting, you probably don't have that many regrets to spend on it. So not the most ideal, and if you are able to get Ice Spear, however, then that's a different story. Second, early Ice Spear leveling tree is not great. As I mentioned before, the pathing for Ice Spear looks something like that, where you're not really grabbing much damage, and assuming you're able to mule the gem from a different character, that takes up a lot of time already. But even if you do, the tree wouldn't give you much damage early on. You barely have any life nodes, so you're already a squishy character and you don't have much life. As you can see here, I have about 3.3k by the end of Act 10, and that's because I was able to get life on almost all my gears, and I am fairly high level at this point. But throughout the first 5 acts, I was mainly hovering below 1.5k health, which is quite low. Number 3, it is a 2-button build, Sniper's Mark and Ice Spear for the most part. I did not realize this when I started this character, and it feels pretty bad if you're only using Ice Spear to clear. As you can see in the previous clips, mapping without Sniper's Mark, you probably will not kill the entire pack. So essentially you gotta hit Sniper's Mark and then target your cursor and hit Ice Spear on the target. So this makes it a pretty clunky build. Feels pretty bad sometimes, and it does get a bit better when you get chain into the build and maybe a snake pit. But for early leveling and for a league starter character, you won't have access to snake pit, and chain's gonna reduce your damage, so it doesn't feel that great. And finally, number 4 is that it is a squishy character. Deadeye by itself is already a squishy character, and if you have to click 2 buttons to play a build and stand still to cast, it makes it quite a questionable build in my opinion. You need a lot of skills in moving your character around, avoiding damage. The damage is quite nice, which is what compensates for the lack of defense and mobility, but keep in mind that you do have to constantly move around, because eventually you get high evasion, you get spell suppression, but you have no armor, you are standing still, you are pressing 2 buttons, so it makes it a pretty sketchy scenario when you are fighting uber bosses and all that. But again, the damage does feel pretty good. This is just a tier 1 map, and as you can see, it's shredding most essence bosses and map bosses early on at least. So yeah, overall I probably wouldn't league start this again. As a second character with twink gear is probably a better idea. But yeah, please leave a comment if you think there's anything I can do to improve the build, or even share your leveling process with me. You know, there might be something that I'm missing and this build might actually be great.